Okay, ready? Everybody ready? Yeah. Okay. All right. So first, I guess we are looking for a reaction on the school safety bill.
You know, I know there's a lot of people frustrated about it because they wanted this, didn't want that, but it really was a compromise, which is what politics is about. I don't think anybody sold their soul to get what they wanted, but they did listen to everybody, and they did make some compromising agreements, which they got it passed. I consider everything in that bill to be beneficial to us. I don't see a negative side to it where I'm all upset that they've done this. So I feel like it's going to really help our schools to remain safe for our students, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it really plays out when we get the final ruling on what this means and what the money does.
Would you implement this on top of your proposal to add an officer at each school, like have the officer and then these coaches and ROTC folks at the schools on top of that? Or?
The decision about whether to arm any employee will be up to the school board. The school board's going to have final say-so on that. And I think there's a lot of angst out there about this, and I don't think people understand the real, true legislation. Anyone that does this is going to have more training than a police officer is required to have. And so they're just not going to line them up at the cafeteria and say, come on down, teachers, and get your guns. And I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm just saying that's not what's going to happen. The law is such that the amount of training they're going to have to do, they could quit teaching and go be a law enforcement officer because they're going to meet those requirements. But you've got to remember, we've got former police officers or teachers. We have a lieutenant commander. It's an elementary teacher. We have a principal who's a former police officer. We have all kinds of military experts, ROTC folks that's what they've done. So, and whether or not we do it, I don't know. But what I'm saying is there are qualified individuals in our schools that could do this.
So would you say that you're happy to see that there's changes being made?
Oh, I'm very thankful. It's better late than never, but I'm very grateful. I keep telling people that after Newtown and those 20 children were killed in Newtown, I just knew there was going to be something more that not only Florida was going to do, but the nation. But it's took the loss of 17 individuals for us to get to this point. But I'm not ungrateful. I'm very appreciative, and I think that the part that really I'm so thankful for is they did not ignore the mental health part of this. We've got to have more help for these children that are having crises in their lives.
There's funding in there, I think, for securing the perimeter, which is what you're calling for. Will this help reimburse you guys for some of that?
We believe so. We haven't seen how it's written yet. And again, we've been working on the hardening of schools for years now. We had basically a 5-6 year plan to do all of them. And we're about halfway done. But what we want to do is speed that process up. We believe that funding can be used. So hopefully we won't have to spend that $4 million that we'll borrow. We'll be able to just not borrow maybe only 3 or less, but we want to go ahead and start that process now. So we are already working with some of the architect and designers and reaching out to some of the contractors and say, look, this is what we're looking at. Pay attention because we're getting ready to roll this out.
And going back to the bill, it would be, coaches, ROTC, but you're saying a lot of people are very qualified in our area. What do you have numbers or kind of an estimated ratio on how many people are coaches, ROTC based, like compared to the traditional schools?
Well, almost all of our high schools have 2 ROTC people. They're loaded with different people to coach. And just because they're a coach doesn't not mean that we're going to give them a gun. Again, I think that first the board would have to approve it if the governor signs it and it does become law. And then the sheriff's department has to go through the rigorous part of the psychological part of it, the training and all that. So I really very candidly see there's going to be very few people that will be qualified to do this once they meet all the requirements of the law. You might have 1 or 2 per school at most. You might have no one in the school that wants to do it.
But I could see where this could supplement, where you might be able to get another person at a school with a gun to protect somebody.
That's the whole idea behind it. That's the premise that most people are saying is, look, we know that you've got one armed officer, just like Parkland did, but we want to have as much of a wall between our students and evil people as possible. So I think this is a good thing to look at. Whether or not a school board's going to approve it, I don't know. They're going to have to make a decision, and I heard you ask earlier, will we do it? I think there's will be a lot of public discussion, a lot of public debate. I don't think this is a slam dunk. This is going to happen. There'll be a lot of input from people and a lot of discussion before it does happen.
How do you feel about the fact that the Senate took had wording that took teachers out of being qualified for this.
That was a compromise, and I kind of understand where they were coming from. The teachers' union was up in arms. They said, look, we don't want to put that burden on our classroom teachers. And so I do understand that, but I think there are a lot of qualified individuals, other than just teachers on campus, that might qualify for that. And again, we've got a principal that was a police officer for, I think, maybe 10 years before they decided to get into education. And there are so many of our veterans that are in our schools that may want to do this and may be qualified, and the board may say, yes, we want to do this. So I don't want to close the door and say we're not going to do that, but I'm not saying we're for sure going to do it. There's going to be a lot of discussion before we get